Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a global health puzzle. It's got potentially huge consequences. This growing problem of antibiotic resistance.
Right.
And the urgent search, really, for new treatments for bacterial infections. Like a high-stakes race, isn't it? The bacteria are just constantly evolving.
It is absolutely a race against time. And what we're fighting for is, the continued ability to treat infections that, well, we've long considered manageable.
Yeah.
So our goal in this deep dive is to really get a handle on what's happening in antibiotic drug development. We've looked closely at recent research, trying to pull out the most critical pieces, the current state of play where we're actually seeing progress, and importantly, the significant roadblocks that are still there.
Exactly. We've got a pile of research here, and the central picture, the worrying one, is that bacteria are becoming resistant to our existing antibiotics much faster than truly new ones are being developed.
All right.
And this isn't just some future concern. It's having real effects right now.
That's absolutely right. The World Health Organization, the WHO, they flagged antimicrobial resistance as one of the top global health threats. We could be facing what people are calling a post-antibiotic era.
Scary thought.
It is, where even everyday infections, things we treat without a second thought now, might become life-threatening again. And that means, more people getting seriously ill, more deaths, definitely higher healthcare costs.
Right.
And just making it much harder to deal with even like a simple cut that gets infected.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. When we hear about antibiotic development, what does the current landscape actually look like? Is there a lot coming through the pipeline?
Well, according to the WHO's 2023 report, there are 97 antibacterial agents currently in clinical trials. That's the clinical pipeline.
Okay.
Now, that includes the traditional antibiotics, the small molecule drugs we mostly know, but also a growing number of what we call non-traditional approaches.
Non-traditional.
Yeah, things beyond just killing the bacteria directly. And we're also seeing activity earlier in the preclinical stages, which is, well, potentially good news for the longer term.
97. That sounds like quite a few.
Yeah.
What's the real story there?
Yeah, here's where it gets more interesting and maybe a bit concerning. While 97 sounds like a lot, the key insight is that many of these aren't fundamentally new ways of attacking bacteria. It's often more like refining existing tools rather than discovering completely new ones.
Oh, okay.
We are seeing more of these non-traditional antibacterials, though, things like toxin binders, which stop bacteria releasing harmful stuff, virulence inhibitors, basically stopping them from causing disease, monoclonal antibodies targeting specific bugs, and even things like using specific probiotics.
Oh, it's less about the number, maybe, and more about the type of innovation, whether it's truly novel.
Precisely. And the crucial question is whether these drugs, novel or not, are actually targeting the bacteria that pose the most urgent threat.
The priority pathogens.
Exactly, the WHO's priority pathogens. Worryingly, only a small fraction of those 97 agents specifically target those critical bacteria. And even fewer are truly innovative against the critical pathogens. There's definitely a big focus on gram-negative bacteria, though. They're notoriously tough because of their complex resistance mechanisms.
And when we talk about that lack of true innovation, it sounds like we're not seeing many brand new strategies. Why is that proving so difficult?
That's a really critical point. The scarcity of truly new chemical classes, drugs that hit bacterial mechanisms we haven't exploited before, that is quite concerning.
Yeah.
Mostly what we're seeing are, new and improved versions of older antibiotics or maybe novel chemical structures, but they still work on those traditional, well-understood targets inside the bacteria.
Which means the bacteria might figure them out quicker.
It makes it more likely, yeah. It's like they've seen similar moves before and can adapt.
Right. Okay. So, with that kind of silver good picture, let's maybe zoom in on more recent stuff. What about the last year or so? Any actual new drugs getting approved?
Well, the overall pace of novel approvals is still slow, let's be clear. But there have been some noteworthy events. In 2023, the FDA in the U.S. approved a few new molecular entities with antibacterial activity. Not a huge number, but some.
Okay.
And moving into 2024, we've seen a few more approvals that are definitely worth mentioning.
All right. Tell us about them. What new tools do we have?
Okay, so first, pivmecillinam. It's marketed as Pivya. That got FDA approval in April 2024. It's an oral antibiotic works by messing with the bacterial cell wall synthesis, and it's specifically for uncomplicated UTIs, urinary tract infections, in adult women.
Okay, UTIs. What else?
Then there's sulopenem etzadroxil. The brand name is Orlynvah, approved in October 2024. This one's an oral penem antibiotic. Yeah, related to penicillins and carbapenems. It's also targeted at uncomplicated UTIs caused by specific bacteria like E. coli, Klebsiella, Proteus again, in adult women, but specifically those who have limited other oral options.
So it definitely seems like a focus on UTIs, particularly with oral options.
Yes, and then also cefepime combined with enmetazobactam, that's branded as Exblifep, approved February 2024.
Combination drug.
Exactly. It's a cephalosporin antibiotic plus a beta-lactamase inhibitor. That's the part that helps overcome certain resistance mechanisms. This one's approved for more complicated UTIs, including pyelonephritis, which is a more serious kidney infection.
Okay, so that's tackling more severe infections. Anything else notable on the approval front?
Well, interestingly, there was ceftibipole metacaryl sodium, known as Xacduro. It was approved in the U.S. in April 2024 for various serious infections.
Right.
But then it was discontinued in November 2024.
Discontinued. Why?
The reasons haven't actually been made public, which is certainly a bit unusual. And it's also really important to remember cefepime. It was approved a bit earlier, but it remains a critical drug for treating infections caused by bacteria resistant to carbapenems. Those are often our last resort antibiotics.
Right, the really tough ones. Okay, so some steps forward, some unexpected turns. What about those potentially truly novel candidates, the ones still in development using new mechanisms? Anything exciting there?
Absolutely. There are definitely several promising candidates that offer, real hope by using new approaches. Zosurbelpin is one to watch. RG606 is its code name.
Zosurbelpin. Okay.
It's a tethered macrocyclic peptide. Sounds complex, but the key is it has a completely novel way of working. It messes up the transport of something called lipopolysaccharide, or LPS.
LPS, that's part of the bacterial wall, right? Especially gram-negative.
Exactly. Think of it as a critical building block for the outer wall of those tough gram-negative bacteria. Disrupting its transport is like, stopping delivery of essential construction materials. It's currently in clinical trials.
Okay, a novel mechanism, that's what we need. What other innovative approaches look promising?
Another really interesting one is crasamycin. This is fully synthetic.
Synthetic.
Yeah.
Not from nature.
Right. And in preclinical studies, so in mice, it's shown effectiveness against drug-resistant bacteria. Its mechanism is different again. It shuts down protein production, binds to the ribosomes, the bacteria's protein factories.
Yams the factory.
Basically, yeah. Halts production of vital proteins. Being fully synthetic gives flexibility in design, maybe helping it overcome existing resistance.
That sounds really clever. What about specifically tackling those really challenging gram-negatives we keep mentioning?
Yeah, there's progress there, too. An engineered version of a natural antibiotic called durlobactam, they're calling this version D22.
D22.
It's shown positive results in animal trials against several high-priority gram-negatives. We're talking E. coli, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, Acinetobacter baumannii. It works by binding to an essential protein in those bacteria.
Okay, so we have a few candidates attacking bacteria in genuinely new ways. Anything else bubbling under in the preclinical space?
Yes, definitely. There's a class of synthetic drugs called macrolones. They sound interesting because they seem to have a dual action.
Two targets.
Yeah, inhibiting protein production and interfering with bacterial DNA. That two-pronged attack could make it much harder for resistance to develop.
Makes sense.
Also, OXF077, this is an inhibitor targeting something called the SOS response in MRSA. That's the resistant staph aureus.
The SOS response? Like a bacterial repair system?
Kind of, yeah. It's a mechanism bacteria use to repair damage, but it can also help resistance emerge. So inhibiting it might suppress resistance evolution. Lab results look encouraging.
Interesting approach, stopping resistance before it starts.
And one more, researchers at LSU Louisiana State University are working on a new antibiotic class specifically targeting bacteria in biofilms.
Biofilms. They're notoriously hard to treat.
Exactly. These drugs work by blocking the bacteria's access to iron, which they absolutely need to survive, especially in that biofilm state.
Targeting biofilms specifically, that seems smart. Now, you also mentioned artificial intelligence is starting to play a role.
Oh, absolutely. AI is really starting to transform the early stages, the discovery phase.
How so?
AI platforms can basically crunch through massive amounts of data like microbial genomes to identify potential new antibiotic compounds way faster than traditional lab screening.
So speeding up the search.
Hugely. It's a potential game changer for finding promising starting points much more quickly.
Fascinating. So it's not just about finding new drugs anymore. But, the fight isn't only about brand new antibiotics, is it? What about alternative therapies?
Exactly right. Alongside the traditional drugs, there's definitely growing interest in alternatives. Bacteriophage therapy is one.
Using viruses to kill bacteria.
Precisely. Viruses that specifically target and kill bacteria, it's gaining traction, especially for infections resistant to everything else. Then you have antimicrobial peptides, or AMPs.
Natural molecules.
Yeah, naturally occurring molecules, often with broad-spectrum activity. They're being actively explored. And finally, there's work on microbiome-modulating agents.
Like probiotics.
Kind of like super-targeted probiotics or prebiotics designed to help our beneficial bacteria outcompete the harmful ones.
Right, a whole different angle. So it's a multifaceted approach.
Yeah.
Which makes sense given how adaptable bacteria are.
Yeah.
What about strategies to make our current antibiotics last longer? Keep them effective.
That's absolutely crucial. Antibiotic stewardship programs are fundamental here.
Stewardship, using them wisely.
Exactly. Improving how antibiotics are used in healthcare, making sure they're prescribed only when really needed, picking the right drug for the bug, the right dose, the right duration. The CDC in the U.S. tracks this stuff closely. And alongside that, better and faster diagnostic testing. That's key to guide treatment. Know the specific pathogen, know what it's susceptible to.
So, better use? Are there ways to make the drugs themselves work better against resistance?
Definitely. Innovative drug design is a big focus. We mentioned dual-action antibiotics like macrolones.
Right.
Another strategy is using efflux pump inhibitors, EPIs. Bacteria have these pumps to eject antibiotics. EPIs block those pumps.
So the antibiotic stays inside the bacteria.
Exactly, letting it do its job. Tethered macrocyclic peptides like zucrobalpin, they're designed to bind really tightly to their targets, making it harder for resistance to evolve. Combination therapies using multiple antibiotics together can work well too, hitting different pathways or overwhelming resistance, though you have to watch for side effects. And then there are antibiotic adjuvants, things added to antibiotics. The classic example is beta-lactamase inhibitors, which protect antibiotics like penicillin from being broken down by bacterial enzymes.
Right, helping the original antibiotic work. And what about really cutting-edge tech? I think I saw something about nanotechnology.
Yes, nanotechnology offers some really exciting possibilities. Silver and gold nanoparticles, for instance, actually have antibacterial properties themselves. They can be used in wound dressings or as part of drug delivery systems to target infections better. And there's this concept of Trojan horse drug delivery.
Sneaking the drug in?
Kind of, yeah. Disguising the antibiotic at a molecular level so bacterial cells take it up more easily, helping overcome resistance from the inside.
Wow. It sounds like there's a huge amount of scientific ingenuity going into this. But we know getting drugs to market is tough, long, expensive. What are the biggest hurdles for antibiotics specifically?
You've hit the nail on the head there. It's a really critical challenge. The economic and market failure in antibiotic development is a huge obstacle.
Market failure, meaning it's not profitable enough?
Essentially, yes. The return on investment for a new antibiotic is often really low compared to drugs for, say, chronic conditions that people take for years.
Right. Antibiotics cure quickly, hopefully.
Exactly. So that low potential return has led many big pharma companies to cut back or even get out of antibiotic R&D altogether.
Leaving it to smaller companies.
Yeah. A lot of the really innovative early stage work is happening in smaller companies and biotech firms, but they often struggle to get the funding needed for the incredibly long and expensive clinical trials and regulatory approval. Regulatory hurdles themselves are also a factor. The stringent approval process can deter investment. And ultimately, there's a clear need for better healthcare reimbursement models, things that incentivize developing and using new antibiotics, make it financially sustainable.
So the science might be there, but the economics don't always work. Are there specific initiatives trying to fix this, solutions being pursued?
Yes. Thankfully, there are some really crucial efforts. Public-private partnerships are vital. And increased funding initiatives.
Like CRBAX.
Exactly. Organizations like CRBAX, RDP, that's the Global Antibiotic Research and Development Partnership, BARDA in the U.S., the AMR Action Fund, NIAI through its ARLG group, the Global AMR R&D Hub.
Wow, lots of acronyms.
Yes, but they all play incredibly important roles, providing funding, helping collaboration, offering expertise to push projects forward.
Okay.
The G7 countries have also made commitments to tackle both the pipeline issues and this market failure problem. And, as we mentioned, leveraging new tech, especially AI.
Right, with agencies like ARPAH getting involved.
Yes, ARPH is looking at this too, using AI for discovery, predicting if compounds will work, if they'll be toxic, trying to speed the whole process up.
Good to see those coordinated efforts.
Okay.
Let's zoom out again for a global view. What does antibiotic use and resistance actually look like worldwide? Any concerning trends or regions?
That's a really vital piece. Global antibiotic consumption went up significantly between, say, 2016 and 2023.
Up, despite the warnings.
Yeah. And the rise was particularly noticeable in low and middle income countries, LMICs.
Why there, specifically?
Often linked to things like economic growth, more urbanization, better access to healthcare overall, which is good, but can also lead to more antibiotic use, sometimes inappropriately. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic did cause a temporary dip in some places.
Right.
But we've seen a rebound since. And unfortunately, sometimes that rebound comes with increases in what's called minimum inhibitory concentrations, MICs, in bacteria, basically, a sign of growing resistance.
And we know that link. Right. More consumption often means more resistance.
Exactly. It's a well-established link. The increasing use of broad-spectrum drugs and even last-resort antibiotics in LMICs is a particular worry.
And it's not just person-to-person spread.
No, that's crucial too. Resistance spreads through the environment, agriculture, wastewater contamination. It's complex. So addressing it really demands strong international collaboration. The WHO is central, coordinating the global response. G7, UN making high-level commitments. Global surveillance networks are essential to track resistance patterns, and groups like the Global AMR R&D Hub help coordinate international efforts.
A truly global problem needing a global response. Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the key things you want our listeners to take away?
Well, I think the main thing is that the antibiotic resistance crisis is, it's very real, and it's a steadily growing threat. It really affects all of us.
Yeah.
And while developing new antibiotics faces huge challenges, both scientific and economic, there are promising advancements happening, and there are these concerted global efforts trying to tackle this urgent issue.
It really hammers home the urgency, doesn't it? And the need for sustained effort everywhere, from labs to policymakers to, well, how each of us uses antibiotics.
Absolutely. And it brings up a really important point for you, the listener, to think about. Consider that delicate balance. How do we ensure antibiotics are accessible for everyone who genuinely needs them?
While also using them responsibly, preserving them, making sure they actually work for future generations. What questions does this deep dive leave you with about the future of medicine and fighting infectious disease?